Hello everyone. It's Maddie Azar with Spectrum Art Creations. Today we're going to be working on a double stacked V-shaped pocket tag. Super fun, very versatile project because you're going to be able to use it for gift giving, for mailing out, adding it to journal, or just creating ephemera. But the first thing we're going to do is pull the die apart. Now, some of you might have the cardstock template set instead. But if you should decide that you want to purchase the die, and I'll be sure to link all the information down below, you'll need to pull it apart first. Here I'm showing you the pieces that you should have. Very important that we do not pull apart the ticket looking set apart. There is an outer piece that has a cutting die, and then there's an inner faux stitched piece that nestles inside of it. Do not pull those two apart because they'll need to be used in combination together. When all is said and done, you should have a total of 6 pieces. In step 2, we are going to be cutting the cardstock template pieces. These are bonus pieces. They're extra. They were not included in the die set, as you can see. However, I went ahead and custom made them for us, knowing that we definitely need something to mat our pockets as well as the back of our full tag. And it'll make sense once we start putting it together. But for those of you who purchased the actual cardstock templates, it was included in your packages. For those that are purchasing the die, I will be putting a link to the online store where you can actually go and download it for free and print out those pieces as well. All in all, you will have 8 total template pieces, whether they are from the cardstock or a mixture of the die set plus the handmade custom pieces. For this project, I'm going to be using the Bo Bunny Sunshine Bliss collection. It is a wonderful paper line with lots of great fun colors, lots of pinks and greens and yellows. Very, very happy. Colorful indeed. But I also love the fact that it came with all these great little frames, which we can actually use to insert into our pockets. Now, I don't know about you, but I am notorious for misplacing my die pieces. Now, once of course I'm done, I will put them into a magnetic sleeve or some kind of a bag. But while I'm working with them, I like to kind of keep them accessible. And so I like to always put all of my pieces into a tray so I know, once again, those are my templates or those are my die pieces. And I can always make sure that I put them back while I'm working with them. In step 3, I'm going to hand cut or fussy cut my images, or in this case, my frames. Now you might have some ephemera packs that you'd like to use. This is a project that is really wonderful for working with scraps and other collections, maybe mix and matching some of them. Honestly, the largest piece that you're going to need for this project is going to be a 6 by 8.5, and that's going to be to do the main back piece with the pockets. Other than that, the rest pretty much can be done with small pieces of scrap. In step 4, we're going to find that large piece, the only one we need, which is a 6 by 8.5, and we're going to cut the main back piece with the pockets. Now you can use double-sided paper, as I have done here, but you can also use plain cardstock. Remember, we have the bonus pieces, so we can always create a mat for our back as well as our pockets. In step 5, we are going to crease our pockets by folding them where they hinge to the main pocket, as well as those little creases that will make our pockets. You can see that they're nicely scored if you use your die set. If you're using the paper template, again, super easy. You can use your stylus, pen, and a ruler to create those creases, those crease lines. Now again, whether you decide to use your double-sided paper or your plain cardstock, I will be working with both so that you can actually see the difference between the two or the similarities. The process is all going to be the same, except for the fact that, of course, we have our bonus pieces that we can use to mat the plain cardstock ones. In step 6, we're going to use our bonus pieces to create our mats. Now again, you can use these whether you are using a plain piece of cardstock or maybe some pieces of paper that you don't really care for or they're kind of plain, or if you just want to add additional levels and embellishments and interest to the ones that you're working with, even if they are double-sided. Now you will need 2 of the pocket covers, and then in my case I am only going to be cutting 1 of the back mats. You can choose to do it both sides, especially if this is going to be a tag that you're going to be using for gift cards, for example, or mailing it as a card to someone. You probably want the back to look kind of pretty, and you might even want to write a message or a poem on the back side of this. However, I am thinking that I'm probably going to insert this into a journal or glue it down to a page. So in my case, my back doesn't really matter. But again, depending on what you're going to be needing, you will definitely need 2 of the pocket covers and then either 1 or 2 of your big back pieces. Now, one of the fun parts is that all of these pieces are interchangeable. So you can always make different ones, with the collection that you have, and then just kind of go back and forth and see what looks good and cut different ones. You can also adjust the little pockets if you feel that they are a little too wide, because depending on where you cut, whether it's inside or outside of the trace line, can add an extra 1/4 of an inch to your cut pieces. So remember to always look and decide if you want to trim a little bit off of the sides or maybe the top and bottom as well. I decided to cut an extra mat as well from this paper. I have an obsession with keys. I just love them. I love them. I adore them. I have decorations all over the house with keys, and that has been for quite some time. So if it's got postage stamps or keys or clocks, I am in. You will notice that usually I do my straight cuts first with my large scissors, and then I use my detail scissors to do any of my rounded corners or edges that I need to kind of really get in there and pay close attention to. With our mats done, it is time to move on to step number 7, and that is to think about what we want to put in our pockets. Don't forget, we have all these great pieces: a large rectangle, a smaller faux stitch rectangle, a fancy label one, and then of course our ticket one with the faux stitching. Plus, we also have our page reinforcer for the top of our tag. So I am just going to be kind of going through some pieces here and just picking some random pieces of paper to kind of cut all kinds of colors and see what it is that we want to use, including using some of the leftover brown cardstock to do the page protectors. So you can see here that by just using your scraps from whatever other pieces you've used, you will have plenty to create multiple mats, which again are super fun because they're all interchangeable. And you'll see that once we start kind of playing. And not to mention that if you have a double-sided paper, then you've got twice as many options. Here I am using a plain piece of just leftover cardstock that I had tea stained. Wanted to work a little bit on the fancy label to show you a couple of things, because if you've purchased just the paper template, you're not going to have the ability to create those really fancy little holes in the corners. Well, kind of, because I'm going to give you a way to do so and make them look really fancy. But by simply cutting them the way that I am here, just by tracing them, you can see that they have these great deckled edges or beveled edges, I should say, which makes a really nice frame. All you need to do, as I mentioned before, is I like to cut my straight edges first, and then I will come in with my fussy cutting scissors or detail scissors and do the corners. And as you can see, it looks absolutely adorable. However, if you want to get some kind of notching on the corners, you can use your decorative corner punches. I have quite a few of them. These I really like because these actually create also a little flap for you to be able to insert pictures or words, or in this case, look at that, you can slide in the other pieces, and doesn't that look absolutely stunning? I think it looks better than the actual die. So make sure that you use your decorative corner punches. In step 8, we are going to be looking at our pieces. This is the fun part that I mentioned to you. When you cut them out in different colors, you can always come in and either double stack them, triple stack them, and layer them. You can use different colors. I mean, the possibilities are endless for mixing and matching. So I highly do recommend that you guys cut out plenty of pieces and then just have fun. Step 9 is totally optional, but in my opinion, it just does so much for a project, and that is distressing. Whether you're using your distress inks or whatever ink you have available, I just think it kind of finishes the project and brings it all together. Especially when you have the white core sides on the paper, it just really brings it all in, blends it, and just makes it look so much neater. But I am not only going to be distressing the individual pieces that we're going to be layering to insert into our pockets, but I'm also distressing, of course, the main pieces. And you want to make sure that you get the pockets and all of that before you glue them down. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult or actually almost impossible to distress afterwards. So do make sure that you do this step before you glue down your pockets. Don't forget to distress your back mats and the pocket mats as well. I almost did because I had tucked them up there with the main pieces and almost forgot. So make sure you bring those back in and distress those as well. Now, one of the things that I wanted to also cover if you are using the paper template is that you're not going to have those faux stitched edges. You have two ways of doing that. You can either use a pen and create a faux stitch, or you can also use a rotary stitch tool, which I'll be linking down below as well. This is definitely a fun tool to have in your arsenal. I absolutely love this tool for making cut apart tickets, just like tickets you would get at the fair. It is just a fun tool to have and use, and especially when it comes to making faux stitching. But again, if you do not have that, feel free to simply trace your ticket template like I am doing here, and then just use a pen. And in that case, you can pick a plethora of colors, right? You can make faux stitching in any color that you'd like. Additionally, if you are handy with the sewing machine, don't forget you can also run them through the sewing machine, which would give it yet another level of interest. Adhering is going to be step 10. We now have cut all of our pieces. We have plenty of pieces to work with. We have also distressed our pieces, so now it is time to glue them down. The first piece we're going to glue down is going to be the back mat. This is that bonus piece that I created for us. Don't forget that you also have the back of the project to work with. You can, as we had mentioned, write poems, add photographs, create additional pockets. I'm going to be gluing mine down, as I had mentioned, so I will not be doing that, but I wanted to remind you to take that opportunity if you will not be gluing this down onto any surface. A quick tip for getting your back piece to match is to line up those two pointed pieces at the top. Next, we are going to glue down our pockets. Now the top pocket, all you have to do is make sure that it lines up with the right side. The bottom pocket, you want to add glue, of course, on the bottom and left, and you want to ensure that it lines up not only on the bottom, but also on the right hand side. Look at the back and make sure that nothing's sticking out. That's going to give you a nice squared pocket. And now it's time to glue down our cover mats for the pockets. One of the tips that I use once again is I line up those little V points, those pointy areas, to ensure that they are nicely lined up. We now have two great pockets. The next thing we're going to do is work on our hole reinforcers. So you could do this one of two ways. You can either punch the hole first and then insert the hole reinforcers, or you can glue down your hole reinforcers and then punch out your hole. I am using a crocodile tool. If you're not familiar with this, I will link that as well in the description box. The nice thing about the crocodile is that it actually has two different sizes. It has a smaller side and it has a hole puncher, and then of course a larger one. Plus, It is also an eyelet setter, amongst other things. You can set all kinds of things with this tool, including your metal eyelids and so much more. So once again, I will leave that in the description box down below. If there's anything that you guys have questions on, be it something that I'm using here or maybe not, or if you have some suggestions, or if you've tried this, do let me know in the description box if there's anything else that I can facilitate for you guys. The next thing I'm going to work on is creating all of those great layer mats now for our pockets. I'm just playing around with the bases now, trying to see what combinations look good, but we have plenty to work with. So let the fun begin. Now, I quickly wanted to take a minute to address the gorilla in the room. I am sure by now you have gotten a glimpse of my lovely art smock sweater that I have on. Yes, I know it is full of holes. It is full of paint. It has definitely seen better days. It should be retired, but I absolutely love it. It is comfy. And I knew you guys would relate to me, right? I'm sure we all have those favorite pieces that we keep in the art studio for whatever, because we just don't care if it gets any more paint on it or whatever comes its way. So I just figure I would laugh with you guys, and you guys would feel me. You guys would understand. As fellow artists, you would get it, right? So yes, this is my lovely morning or evening little art sweater smock that I use for when it's really cold down here. Sometimes when I come into the art studio and the AC has been on all night, it is very cold. And then of course in those chilly winter mornings and nights, I absolutely love wearing my little art smock. And we now have 2 completed projects with all of the trimmings and all of the interchangeable labels. In step 11, which is our final step, we are simply going to go through all of our pre-cut, pre-prepped ephemera that we had done previously and just pick some gorgeous little items to go into these pockets. There's just so much that we can do. They all match perfectly because they're all from the same collection. So I'll just pick a couple of random ones. I mean, there's banners, there's frames, there's double frames, there are florals, there are keys, there's all kinds of good stuff, right? But again, this will work with any collection that you have, be it this one, be it any other collection, including your scraps. Don't forget that. And we can fit so much more in these pockets, including not only the ephemera, but gift cards and photos. I just picked a few just to kind of show you how it looks. Plus, don't forget, we still have all of these extra pieces that we can put together. So that's what I'm going to do, just to have them prep. As I said, I'm thinking I'm probably going to insert this into a journal. So I am going to prep all these additional pieces as well so that they are ready to go. And just like that, in this short period of time and with great ease, we have created 2 magnificent, fun-filled, double-stacked pockets. They are fully interchangeable, lots of fun, lots of color, so much that we can do with them. Plus they are coordinating so they're ready to go into one project or to be mailed or to be gifted. Plus we have all the additional pieces that I had mentioned that I would prep with all of the leftover items that we had. We also have a bag full remaining of great ephemera, not to mention our templates and our dies. This is the original one that I had made as a prototype using the gorgeous Graphic 45 Ephemera Queen. I used the 8x8 pad so that I could actually get all those cute little tickets and playing cards out of them too. But this one's another one that is just full of great colors, very colorful, very friendly. However, do keep in mind, they can be anything. They could be vintage, they can be shabby, grunge, steampunk, such as this one here that I kind of did a little bit more of the muted colors or the vintage colors. Thank you so much for joining us today in the art studio. I hope you guys have crafted along. I hope you have enjoyed it. Can't wait to hear your feedback. Please do leave us a comment down below. We appreciate it and it helps the channel to grow. Also, don't forget to leave us a thumbs up, and we hope to see you guys all very, very soon. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.